Hey everyone, welcome back to my cooking channel. So today we are making frijoles charros. It is a delicious Mexican bean soup that is so good. So if you want to see how I create it, don't go anywhere. Thanks for sticking around, guys. So as I just mentioned, frijoles charros is what we are making today. This is a beautiful dish for you to just eat it on its own as a yummy bean soup, or you can also use this as a side to a main meal. So let's go. In a nice size pot, I've already added some water and I'm bringing that to a boil. I have some beans here and I am going to add them directly into the water so they can start cooking. I have approximately 2 cups of beans. I'm adding half of an onion, of a white onion, and then 3 garlic cloves. I'm going to let these babies cook for about 2 hours. And then I'm going to start incorporating everything else. Bring that down to a medium-high heat. Cover them up slightly, leave a little slit, and let them cook for 2 hours. Once they've been cooking for about 2 hours, they're starting to get tender. So now I'm going to start working on everything else that's going to be added to this delicious bean soup. I have an entire pack of bacon. I am cutting it up in just strips because it will end up separating once we cook it down. So don't put too much thought process into this part. Just nice long slits, and then you will notice that when you start cooking it, they'll start separating, and it just avoids you all of that extra trouble. I am adding all of this to a small saucepan that I have on the side, and those are getting ready to get nice and crispy and cooked down. Here you can see I've added all of my bacon. I'm just kind of moving it around with my spoon, and with the same spoon you can see that I'm somewhat separating the bacon strips from each other just so that they cook nice and evenly. While that bacon is cooking and getting nice and crispy, I'm going to dice up my ham. Any type of ham will work. I have smoked ham here, honey ham, whatever ham that you like or have, it will definitely do the job. Doing the same thing here. Nice long slits, then turning it over and cutting it into bite-sized pieces. This ham is going to go directly into the bacon before the bacon completely cooks down, just so that the ham can absorb some of that flavor and a little bit of that grease. Yes, I know, you're like, ew, why so much grease? Listen. Follow the recipe, okay? You will be just fine. I have some smoked kielbasa here, and I'm going to use about half of it. And I'm doing the exact same thing. Chop, 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 dice, dice, dice. Here is half of it. I'm cutting it long ways, and then again, bite-sized pieces. Easy, easy, guys. So now that my bacon is fully cooked, the ham has a nice little crisp to it as well, I am going to pass this over to the pot of beans. Keep in mind, my beans have been cooking for a while now, so they are almost fully cooked. So now I'm going to start incorporating all of this additional flavor. You can remove some of that excess grease, okay, because you know we need that grease to fry up everything else, and add the bacon and ham in there and use that same grease that we have on there to fry up our kielbasa. It's going to give it some dimension of flavor because now this grease has some bacon flavor, ham, so yummy. So go ahead and fry up your kielbasa. You just want to brown these, so a few minutes, stir them around, give them some nice color, cook them through, and once again just add more flavor to the bean dish. While that is going, take a look at here what we look like. Yummy, yummy. Let's stir that in to really start distributing that flavor. Yummy, yummy. This is one of my favorite ways to eat beans because it can be a total meal just on its own. All right, let's cover these back up and move on to the next step here. Kielbasa is on the stove cooking. Now we are going to move on to our chorizo. Any brand of chorizo will work. You can use pork chorizo, beef chorizo, any type of chorizo that you personally like. So I'm going to do this whole piece of chorizo, and I am going to cut it into rounds. And then after that, I'm going to dice it up just a little bit smaller so that it's easier to cook. This will eventually, you know, turn into like little crumbles once it cooks down, once some of that fat cooks down. So that's why I'm just kind of chopping it, no rhyme or reason, just kind of trying to get it into small pieces to begin with. Kielbasa is beautifully browned. Now we are going to transfer this to our pot. So delicious. All right, move that right on over, and without removing any of this grease. Remember, this grease is what has all of the flavor from everything we have been cooking on it. We are going to add the chorizo directly to it. Yum, yum, yum. You guys think I'm kidding? This is so good. Now we're going to give that enough time to cook and brown up as well. Now, once this has started cooking, about 5 minutes in, we are going to start adding a little more flavor. You guys know flavor upon flavor. I have 2 garlic cloves chopped really small, and I have a half of an onion that I'm going to add to this chorizo because the chorizo already has seasonings and flavor. So now we're going to just incorporate a little bit extra. Remember, you are trying to season an entire pot of beans. So I am going to go a little heavy on the chorizo since that's the last thing we are incorporating. I want a little heat, so I'm adding some cayenne. I'm also adding some paprika, some chili powder, just more red spices for a little more flavor and more smokiness. Some onion powder, some salt, and mix that all in. Now, you wouldn't want to eat this chorizo just like this because it's overly heavily seasoned, but we are adding it to a big pot of beans that has no seasoning, so that's why we are going heavy on here. We're going to mix that all the way through, and then this is where the magic happens. Add everything to your pot of beans. Look at how beautiful this looks. So good. A nice handful of cilantro, just to give it a little bit of that earthy flavor as well. We're going to mix this all the way through. You should not need any salt. You shouldn't need anything else because remember, all of these meats are salty on their own. And then that little extra pinch of salt that we added to the chorizo should just totally flavor the entire pot of beans. Let this simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes just to incorporate those last flavors, and you are good to go. Once it comes to a boil like this, after about 10-15 minutes, you are ready to serve. Look at how beautiful these beans are. And when I tell you, they are so flavorful, they are legit so flavorful. I hope that you guys enjoyed this recipe. Don't forget to leave a comment below, subscribe and like, and I will talk to you guys in the next recipe. Try this now. It's so good. Bye.